Okay, so when it came to me looking over our reading order for the X-Men, I kind of realized something that we had a couple of one-shots coming up. And so I felt like it would be a good idea to just go ahead and take those one-shots and combine them together. So one of them is for Wolverine and the other one is for Cable. Now, when it comes to Wolverine, this story right here is not written by Larry Hama. As y'all know, sometimes you have a writer take a small break. And when they do, a different writer comes in to help give that person a break. And so this storyline was not created by Larry Hama, but it is Wolverine being able to hang out with a character he used to fight alongside with, better known as the Shaman. But before we're able to properly dive into the storyline with our characters, we do get a couple of pages setting things up for us. Like, for example, the first page, we do pick up with this bear. Now, this bear does go inside this cave. Now, when it does, it finds some pots. And at first, it believes the pots must have some food inside of it. But of course, in reality, it does not. Instead, these pots are holding onto a great beast spirit. Now, the great beasts are a very interesting, topic in Marvel Comics, but you do have one of the great beasts take over the body of this bear. Now, when it comes to the great beasts, here's a quick rundown of what they are. You see, when it comes to the great beasts, they are a group of powerful creatures from another dimension who have tried several times to take over the Earth. They were trapped 1,000 years ago in their own dimension by the gods of northern Canada, but the magics holding them began to weaken, and of course, over time, you will have different great beasts try to take over the world by different types of methods at the moment. Now, the next page that currently does get used to set things up, we do pick up with two thugs right now robbing this store. Now, of course, the old man who runs the store is not really trying to fight back. As a matter of fact, he says, like, hey, you can take everything, just leave me in my store alone. Of course, that does not actually happen. They do get what they want, but you do have one of the guys go out of their way to kill off the old man. So, of course, right there, they're now technically wanted for, murder. And so the next following day, you have the authorities call in Shaman. And the reason why, because for Shaman, he's magical. His mystic ways could possibly help them to locate the two guys who are currently hiding out in the middle of the forest. Now, for Shaman, he calls in Wolverine because Wolverine is great for hunting down animals and of course people as well. But it's also Shaman telling Wolverine like, hey, listen, so like the reason why I called you here is because I got word from the Ravens that there is a possibility that one of the great beasts might pop up very soon. And so, of course, you had Wolverine agree to help out Shaman with the situation. And really, for those two thugs, yeah, they're still out there trying their best to get away. The problem is they crashed their vehicle, so right now they're trying to escape on foot in the middle of the forest. But with this manhunt being out there, you know that technically means like people can't camp in that area. So we do have this random family appear. And when they do appear, you do have the authorities tell the family like, hey, listen, you can't camp here. You got to go back. Sorry, goodbye. Now, the husband, Bob, he agrees. He's like, you know what? Fine. If they say we can't go, then guess what? We can't go. But his wife, Catherine, begins to nag because her father would not let no one guy who works for the law tell them what to do. And so she basically forced Bob to find a way around the authorities to get to a nearby camping site because she says their son deserves a good trip. So yeah, this right here puts them in a bad situation. So while you have all that going on for Logan, he's trying his best right now to hopefully find, the bear that has been possessed. But he also kind of realized the bear getting worse and worse because he finds different dead bodies of different creatures that have been killed off by the bear. But as we do switch back over to that family, like I said earlier, the wife, Catherine, is going to make things a whole lot worse because while you do have the family try their best to set everything up, they are confronted by those two thugs from earlier. So now they're technically hostages because of her. But as we do shift over to Shaman, for Shaman, he does find the cave where the great beast spirit came from. Now, at first, he kind of believed that the ravens told him the great beast would appear soon, means he had some time. But unfortunately, he comes to find out that's not the case anymore. The great beast is technically out there at the moment. But that kind of does lead us back over to, well, the family and the thugs, because while you do have the thugs right now hold the family as, well, hostages, you didn't have Wolverine appear. Now, when Logan does appear, his main goal is to try to save the lives of the family. Now, you also have Catherine kind of nagging on Bob for not trying to find a way out of this situation. But while you do have Logan try his best to help out the family, well, that is when the great beast arrives. Now, here's the thing, guys, because this storyline does take place at a time where, for Logan, he was kind of going through this feral state. And let me explain. You see, back in Fatal Attractions, you had Magneto rip off the adamantium off the bones of Logan. And so with him doing that, it began this process of Logan turning feral. You see, for Charles Xavier, he had learned that when he came to Wolverine, originally, when he came to his mutation, he was supposed to turn into this wild feral beast. But thanks to Weapon X putting adamantium on his bones, it basically stopped that process. But when it came to Magneto ripping off the adamantium off his bones, the process was then able to continue. Now, for Wolverine, he had the help of different people like Elektra and Stick being able to kind of help Wolverine's mind stay in the state of mind of a man and not the state of mind of an animal. Now, with the great beast appearing, you do have everyone just dip out and run over to the car the family came in, except for Logan. Now, Bob also stays behind, but the reason why Bob stays behind because Bob is concerned for Wolverine, not truthfully knowing who Logan is. And so he wants to help the guy out. Everyone else, they dip the heck out of there. Now, you do have Bob try to help Logan fight against this great beast that's currently possessing the bear, but he gets smacked around very easily. So just like that, he's out of the battle. But really, this kind of leads into the battle between Wolverine and the Great Beast. And honestly, the battle is somewhat cool because it's Wolverine remembering what everyone who helped him had taught him what to do when it came to him in his feral state of mind, to not allow the animal side to officially take over. And so, of course, you do have Logan being able to just bounce back. And with him being able to bounce back, he's then able to take care of the great beast. But you also have Shaman being able to use his magic as a way to trap the great beast spirit back into another pot all over again. So of course, the day is officially saved. Well, not all the way just yet. Because let's not forget that earlier, when it came to everyone else seeing the great beast, Bob's wife and son and the two thugs, they dipped out. Now, the two thugs, they had crashed Bob's car, so unfortunately, they didn't get far, but they're right now trying to hold his wife and son as hostages. Now, you do have Logan, Bob, and Shaman appear, being able to overpower the two thugs to help out Catherine and her son. Now, with that being said, that's the end for this issue right here. And that is why I said I didn't want to just cover this one issue by itself, because technically it's not long enough for me. But either way, it's now time for us to move on to, well, Cable. You see, for Cable issue number 36, it's really more of a post-Onslaught update for the character of Cable. Because remember, before the crossover for him, Cable was fighting against the techno-organic virus. Now remember, the techno-organic virus was given to him by Apocalypse, but over the years, he had officially learned how to use his powers to keep the virus at bay in his body. The problem was that the virus was no longer, being able to be held back by his powers. It then had the ability to just grow across over his entire body. And so with the Onslaught crossover being done now, we're now picking up with Cable, who's just laying on this bed in the old Baxter building, trying to get his life saved by Nathaniel Richards, Storm, Domino, Cannonball, and Franklin Richards. Now, let's not forget that around this time in Marvel Comics, with the crossover just being done for Onslaught, that technically means there is no Avengers. There is no Fantastic Four because both teams are currently in the Heroes Reborn reality. Now, with all that being said, when it comes to Cable, in his second chapter or his second tie-in for the actual crossover, him, Apocalypse of all people, but also the Invisible Woman, they tried their best to save Franklin when he was being held hostage by Onslaught. Now, of course, they technically failed, but for Franklin, seeing Cable try his best to save his life, you have Franklin say, you know what? Me and Cable are like close friends now. But either way, it's Nathaniel Richards, the father to Reed Richards, trying his best to find the best way to save Cable's life. And so this kind of leads into Cannonball wanting to talk to Cable, because for Cannonball, he's like a son to Cable. And so for Cannonball, he's right now trying to talk to Cable as a way to say, we need you to try to fight back against the techno-organic virus. Like, please don't give up. Now, you have Franklin say, you know what? I believe I should be able to help Cannonball reach the mind of Cable to allow him to possibly help Cable here to finally save his life. And so in the mind of Cable, he's hearing the voice of Cannonball, but then he's confronted by this image of Tyler, his son, who died back in Wolverine. You see, when it came to Tyler Dayspring, like I said, he is the son of Cable from the far future. The thing was, he fought alongside with Cable for a good while there. But when it came to Cable's evil clone, better known as Strife, he was able to get a hold of, well, Tyler and mess with his mind, turning him evil. And technically, when it came to Tyler, there was a point in time where he was trying to replace Apocalypse, because to the world, they believe Apocalypse was officially dead. Now, when it came to Tyler, he was killed off by Wolverine, but is Cable kind of feeling responsible for the death of Tyler? Because he did promise his wife that he would take care of their son, but now he felt like he failed because his son died. But is his son saying like, Dad, you have to realize that when it comes to time, you can't just change the future. You can't change the past. Like, yes, I did die. And I know if you're wondering, what if you were able to go back in time to kill off Strife? Or what if you were able to go to the future and kill off Strife? Would things be different? And the thing is, you have to realize when it comes to time, if things happen, they happen for a reason. And so it's also him saying like, even though you are my father and you feel like you should take on the full responsibility of what happened to me, at the same time, I'm still a young man and I have to own up for what I did because it was my mistakes that got me killed technically. And so it's him saying like, Father, just let go what exactly happened to me. Now, back in reality, the techno-organic virus is getting worse and worse to the point where it now makes Cable's powers go haywire. So things are flying around left and right in this lab of Nathaniel Richards. Now, you didn't have Stormy the next one up to actually talk to Cable. Now, for Storm, she's like a close friend to Cable. Now, for me personally, I kind of felt like there's always that possibility of her and Cable getting together. And really, this issue kind of adds on to that idea because you once again have Franklin help out Storm to kind of get into the mind of Cable to allow her the chance to talk to him. The problem is that while she's talking, he's not really hearing the words of Storm. He's hearing the words of his dead wife. And that would be Aaliyah. Now for Aaliyah, she died a while ago when it came to our coverage over the X-Men. But it's basically her telling Cable like, hey, listen, so like, it's not your time yet. Like technically, I understand that you have been on this long road for a very long time. I'm telling you right now, at the end of that road, there'll be so many great rewards for you. But for right now, it's not your time. And it's Cable realizing that he has to go back because it's not time for him to be with her just yet. But sooner or later, he will have that ability to spend time with her. And so we do get this page where it's now Cable being able to see his family as they go into the light. They also tell us, remember what your name means. Dayspring. It means a hope for a better tomorrow. And you do have the two spirits leave Cable behind as they officially move on into the afterlife. And so really the book kind of ends on the note where you now have Cable being able to regain control of the techno-organic virus. Now, you do have Cable kind of say, like, possibly when it came to Onslaught and his attack on the astral plane, it probably affected Cable in some kind of way where it allowed the techno-organic virus to no longer be affected by, well, his psychic abilities. But apparently now his abilities are officially working again, allowing him to have full control of the techno-organic virus. But the book does kind of end on that note right there. And with us being able to cover these two one-shots for Wolverine and Cable, especially for Cable, we can kind of move into the next big storyline for this character. But with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.